Hello, it's Mr. Urban Hiker guy here. I am back in my truck. For those that you don't know, my truck was down right behind me there. The chrome grill was down for like 5 weeks because of an accident that I had. But I am back in my truck, picking it up. I'm ready to roll. Already got a load headed up to, I'm in Chattanooga, so I'm headed up to Nashville, pick up a trailer, and then back down here to Chattanooga, and then from Chattanooga to Atlanta, and then it'll go from there. All right, let's head up to Nashville. Hey, I don't know where I left you off, and I'm not like, I haven't put up a video in like a couple of days, but let me tell you, life, I think a video a while ago I was talking about, make sure the tempo is solid, your house, you're solid, because life always gets a vote, and life has been lifing. So I'm going to try and catch you up a little bit here, a little story time, so just sit back, relax, and let's go. Let's pick up. So I had, I might have said a number of videos back, I had a accident in my truck, and I was in a rental truck during the time. My truck was like down for like 5 weeks. So my truck got fixed, and there was some. So I went to pick up my truck. So that's not. I'll start with today's life. I won't bring up that life, because there's some things that happen as far as that goes, but I'll let that be that, because that's, resolved, and even today is for the most part resolved. But so I picked up my truck. I think the first clip was me. I was in Chattanooga, and I had my truck, and we're good to go. There was some confusion because there were some components that were broken in the accident that I had, and they were fixed, but I had a what you call Department of Transportation inspection done on the truck. I said, add this to it, and I'll just pay this out of pocket. Well, anyhow, during the DOT inspection, they said, oh, you got an air leak from this part of your truck. And I'm like, wait a minute, like that part was, you guys fixed that, or supposedly fixed that, that was broken during the accident. So if it's leaking, it's because of, you didn't complete it during your repair. That's not like an additional thing I have to pay. So there was kind of back and forth on that, but we got it all worked out, you know what I'm saying? So we're good. So I got my truck, and it feels good to be in your own stuff, but so I ended up getting a load out of Chattanooga, headed to, I had to go to Nashville to pick up an empty trailer, and then I'm trying to adjust this camera, and I brought that trailer down to Chattanooga, because I had a load from Chattanooga going to Atlanta. Currently I'm in Atlanta. So I get to Atlanta, and I got here like 2 in the morning, 2:30 this morning. I was tired. Do you know what tired is? Like, because the days preceding, I was humping. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't get a lot of rest. But anyhow, so I got here early this morning, and I got when I went to sleep, and when I woke up, I got an email. And you kind of like, everything's good, you're feeling good, okay, I'm good, it's gonna be, today is my day. But this email, like, it was a life email. Life was life in an email. And it's just like, I don't, I like to control my situation. So, I believe in outsourcing, things, pass the buck, let other people take care of that. There's enough to take care of. So I choose to outsource certain things. But sometimes, your outsourcing sources kind of, they get their hands too much into my situation, and that rubbed me the wrong way. Let's just say that rubbed me the wrong way. So it kind of started off with that. So I'm like, you know what? It is what it is. You know, you live, you learn. It's like, okay, I know how to proceed going forward at this point. So I said, you know what? Let me get my truck together a little bit, because I had, like, when I transitioned trucks, when I picked up my truck in Chattanooga, I had all the stuff that I had in the rental, and I kind of threw it in this truck, and I still got to organize all my stuff, but it's still a mess in here. But I'm gonna get it together. I got all night. But so I said, I'm not gonna, I need to go to the gym. I need to, let me, go to the gym. Let me get my gym on, right? So I have a car parked here in Atlanta, because I'm here in Atlanta so much and see my parents and such. So I have a car that I keep here in Atlanta. And the car wasn't registered in my name. It's insured in my name, but it wasn't registered in my name. So I, go get the car, and, I'm on my way to the gym. I said, I'm going to the gym. I'm going to stop at the grocery store, yada, yada. So here in Atlanta, actually it's Forest Park, Georgia. Forest Park, Georgia, they're Clayton County. We'll get into this county mess. Clayton County, they're really like, their Clayton County or Forest Park PD is deep. You know what I'm saying? They are deep. So I already know I don't speed. I do almost below the speed limit. So when I'm on my way to the gym, I see, I'm making a turn on the street, and I see Clayton, Forest Park, Georgia PD, just waiting, chicken hawking, right? So I'm like, I ain't tripping him, because, I'm not speeding. I didn't do anything wrong. And then I see him turn around and get behind me. I'm like, I'm not doing anything wrong. So, I'm not even worried. He's just driving. He's just probably going to another spot or whatever. So he lights me up. So I'm like, okay, I'm not tripping. You know what I'm saying? I know I have all my ducks in order and everything. So I'm not worried. So I just pull over and, get my license and registration and insurance together. And he's like, yeah, the reason why I'm pulling you over is because it's coming up that your registration has been suspended because of not having insurance. I'm like, oh no, I got insurance. So I put up my insurance card, and I pull out my, the registration that I have. And I even show him he was like, can I see it on your phone? I'm like, oh yeah, I got that. I show him the app, like, here's my insurance on my app. And he's like, well, they suspended it, and they've given you a fine. The tag office has fined you or whatever. So I'm like, oh, well, that's, like, that seems weird. Like, I have insurance. Like, why am I being fined? Or why? Because he's saying it's showing that you don't have insurance on your registration. They already suspended your registration. So I'm like, okay, so where's the nearest tag office? So he tells me, like, okay, there's a tag office in, up the road here. So I go to the tag office, and if anybody knows, not all DMVs, we'll get into that later. Clayton County DMV, you're gonna wait a minute. So I went, got my ticket, sitting there, waited about an hour, and I get to the counter, and she's like, I explained to her the situation, and she's like, this registration isn't the car's not registered in your name. You need this person. I need this person. I'm like, she's like, I need their, I was like, who this is there. I need their ID. I'm like, well, can it be a picture or whatever? So she's like, sure, So I went and, contacted the person whose registration that is, and got that picture, and came back. And she says, well, she should have told me that the first time, right? So after I got the picture, I come back, wait. I didn't have to wait in the full line. She said, come back to a window, but there are a couple people ahead of me. I had to wait until they got done. And then she was like, oh, well, this registration is for Fulton County. This is Clayton County. We can't do nothing here. You got to go to deal with Fulton County. I'm like, ain't this? I did my little. Well, I did okay, and got my little. I was like, thank you, ma'am. Cause what you gonna do? You know what I'm saying? I'm just gonna have to go to Fulton County. So I looked up and I headed to Fulton County and said, explaining the situation. And she's like, oh, well, in between, I said, okay, part of the issue was in Georgia, you got to have Georgia insurance on a Georgia registered vehicle. When I got my insurance, I got it based upon, I live in North Carolina. The car's registered in Georgia. I just got insurance saying, hey, I got a car that I keep. I go back and forth between North Carolina and Georgia. But it's, my residence is in North Carolina. Well, that doesn't work in Georgia. So in between, I call my insurance and I'm thinking like, oh, it's as simple as, well, let me change it to my Georgia address because I have an address here in Georgia. Not a problem. So she's like, oh, yeah, sure. My insurance was USA. So she's like, okay, I'm sorry, folks. My phone was dying and I running out of storage on my phone. But anyhow, the insurance lady was like, oh, not a problem, Mr. Lang. We're going to cancel you just need a new policy, a separate policy for Georgia. So we'll cancel you, we'll take you off your North Carolina policy and put you and create a new policy. So she canceled my North Carolina policy. So I'm like, okay. And so she's like, I'll create a Georgia policy for you. So I'm like, okay. So she's doing that. And then she's like, where's the car going to be stayed at? I'm like, such and such place. And she's like, she does some things, and she's like, who's the car registered? It's like, it's not registered in my name. And she's like, oh, well, Georgia has a policy that you have to be something with Georgia, something, I don't have to be the registered. She said something like, in order to do this, you have to be the registered owner of that vehicle. The person who's registered, they need to have insurance on it. It needs to be their insurance, not your insurance. And I'm like, well, why do they if this was the case, you guys are the experts, why did you even allow me to do it in North Carolina anyhow? But that's beyond the point. So I'm like, and this is, I'm en route to Fulton County's Georgia's DMV. So I'm en route to their DMV. So I was like, okay, well, just put me back on North Carolina then. And she's like, oh, I can't do that. You're no longer, I took you off and you're not the registered owner of that vehicle. So I'm like, so I'm just driving, floating now? Like, now I don't have no insurance? You could be riding dirty. I'm really riding dirty now? Like, I don't have no insurance? And she's like, well, when are you going to do this? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, well, I mean, it may take a minute. And because she was like, your insurance, your policy that I just canceled ends at midnight tonight. So I'm like, oh Lord, I truck, so I'm not going to be in Georgia for a week. I'm back here today and I'm gone tomorrow, right? So I'm like, so you're saying like anybody can, I can just, anyhow. So I head on over to Fulton County DMV and I tell them my situation, and she's like, Fulton County, they won't accept no picture of an ID. So I had the picture of the registered owner. They're like, no. Fulton County's rules are different. Granted, it's within 30 miles. It's in the same, it's all part of Atlanta. It's in the same state. But each little county's got their own rules. And I'm like, oh my Lord. Son of the living God. So they got their own rules and stuff. So I'm like, okay, not a problem. So she's like, well, that person needs to be here, and then, or you can do like a power of attorney. I'm like, a power of attorney? And she says, but that's going to be a problem because that's not going to look right because you're trying to be on their title, put your name on their registration, and you gotta. I'm like, this is. So I said, you know what? Got it. Good. So I just called the person that I had the car registered from, who's the registered owner. I said, look, add me back to your policy. Add this car back to your policy and put me as a driver on that policy. And I'll just pay you whatever the difference of adding a driver and this car back on your policy. I'll just pay you the difference. You know what I'm saying? So we can, that's the simplest solution. So that's what we ended up doing. Come to find out, it's what I have to pay now is less than what I was paying when I had it on my own policy. And then I'm going to, the car's registered through the end of this year. So that's why I didn't register it yet, because it's like they had just purchased their registration for the year. So I'm like, look, just keep it under your registration. When that expires, I'll transfer the title to North Carolina. But, as of now, it's just like, once I'm going to ultimately, sooner than later, transfer the title into North Carolina, have everything under North Carolina, and get the HE double hockey sticks out of Georgia's administrative purview. But, so I guess in the end, I ended up saving some money, But this is the creepy part. Are you ready for creep? I didn't start with creep, but if you stay to the end of this video, you get to hear the creepy part. So Georgia's and a lot of states, your license is in the back of the back of your car, your license plate, not in the front. So I'm making a left turn, and the cop, he comes behind me, but so he identified me without even seeing my license plate. So I'm like, that's interesting. So apparently there's a one of those traffic light cameras that must have picked up my license plate and identified this car as a car that has a suspended registration. So that's how he knew that, okay, I'm going to pull over that guy. So I'm like, okay, that makes sense. That's got it. So as he's sitting there, I'm getting my paperwork, and he's, at my car door, I see this blinking, right? This blinking in the sky. So I look up, I kind of focus. I'm like, is that a drone? And I'm like, and then I asked him, is that your guys' drone? And he didn't want, he was like, yeah. I'm like, wait a minute. This isn't a felony stop. This isn't even a moving violation stop. This is administrative stop. Administrative, paperwork. That's all it is. A misunderstanding for the most part. I didn't get a ticket or anything like that. So, you mean you guys allocated resources for a drone? That is creepy as all get out. Talk about, I don't want to say police state, but this is some 1984, if you're familiar with the book. This is some 1984 stuff. I'm like, this is like, y'all get ready. And this is just little old Forest Park, Georgia. So prepare yourself. People talk about these flock cameras and all this. Like, look, okay. It is what it is. But bottom line, after all of that, I still, what? I could have just said this day, I still went to the gym. I still got my gym on. Why? Because you gotta take care of the house. You gotta take care of the house. Yeah. So I ate a good meal, and I feel good. And I think through all of this, the things just today, by making sure my tempo's right, keeping my mind right, help me deal with life. Because life, trust me, life it always gets a vote, and it's coming. It's coming. I was like, man, how people say, not today, Satan, not today. Life was coming. I was like, man, because, it's like it was coming. So I'm like, it's good. We have, Mama said there'd be days like this, and it wasn't bad. There's no bad day, because the sun still rises and sets, and nature does what it does. But all this other administrative stuff we do that man puts into life, it is what it is. So make sure, little lesson, make sure you got your ducks in order. Make sure you got your business together, so so when life does life, you can present yourself without reproach, okay? That being said, I end this video, being I missed you for a couple days. I wanted to give you a little something more, let you know what's going on. I hope to get back to my regular schedule, video every morning, but y'all be good, you know what I'm saying? And as I always say, I don't know what I always say. See, I miss a couple days and I forget what I always say. But I want you to live well, make beauty. There's one more thing, actually two more things, but I can't think of them right now. But may your journey always continue. Mr. Urban Hiker Guy, out. Seek truth! Seek truth! Make beauty, live well, and may your journey always continue. All right, now I'm out.